This is episode 186 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Gideon Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel, now what, Manzano.
Now what? Mando's over.
Why even own a TV?
Yeah. Till December 2021.
That's right. Will put a few ships under the tree. Hagwood.
Maybe a working camera, too, would be fantastic.
The timing is fantastic. And Ryan, the sacred texts, Staniszewski.
Keep them now. Print them, save them, copy them while you can. They're gone in a month or so.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start with announcements and news, and we'll start with what Ryan is alluding to. FFG announced today on the Fantasy Flight Games forums that the Fantasy Flight Games forums are disappearing. Not just for X-Wing, all of them gone, done, over. So if there's anything on there that you really want to save, you got to do it now because it is going away. It is disappearing. Real quick, did they give a date on that, Ryan? I'm trying to I'm pulling up the post right now.
February 1st is the closure.
Yeah, the last day it's going to be up is January. The last day of January. I can't remember if that's it's a 30th month, right?
31st.
Is it January 31st?
Yeah, man. I know the knuckles. I'm counting them on my hands right now. You can't see me, but
Yeah, you're right.
that's a deep cut. people who went to elementary school.
All right. Yeah. So this is it's gone. It's gone forever. So yeah, they'll be shutting it down. So if there's anything there you need, and you know, here is I kind of have two opinions on this, and you guys can go ahead and give yours. I'll start with mine here. I feel like, especially during COVID, people have gotten better. Like people in the community have gotten better with communicating with each other via, for instance, like the Gold Squadron Discord or different Facebook groups. There are a lot of unifying places for X-Wing that are public and in other places. My only worry, not necessarily worry, but the FFG forums, I kind of looked at it as a gateway into the X-Wing community for someone who's like, this brand new game, who makes it? Fantasy Flight Games. Oh, there's this community button. Hit the community button. Oh, it's a forum. And it kind of starts that digging into different public postings that people are making. And I'll be completely honest, like we're not entirely like super active on it because we have our own means of getting information out there. But it's something that I think it was a nice to have, but I don't think it's going to break anything not to have it. Other thoughts?
I was never on it, so I don't even think I ever had a login. So for me, it has no impact on that, other than, it's just like the ship is sinking more and more at FFG. Just things are falling apart. Somebody's in there with a bucket, like trying to get water out. So other than like the optics of it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any. I don't care.
Yeah, I think it's just a small cutting of costs because they're right. They did mention in their post that a lot of the communities that are already together have put things together on Reddit or Discord servers and get pretty much the same information posted that would be on the forums. So the amount of people that would be negatively impacted about the forums going away does not have a significant amount compared to the people who it won't matter to. And any allocation of resources, albeit a lot of people think might not be a lot, even a little bit, is still an amount of money, and time which is also money to companies they would need to spend on moderating and maintaining it.
Yeah. I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. There's there's somebody in the forums who always has to be there cleaning it up. Right? Like they have to make sure that they're moderating it, making sure everything looks clean, just like when you use manscaped.com. Okay, just making sure everything is real nice there. Use coupon code GSP for 20% off. And remember, it's Mrs. Gold Squadron approved. All right, let's go into our main topic. I want to go ahead and do our Imperial ship rankings. I will tell you guys, people have been hounding me for these. Hounding me. Like, you guys never rank the Imperial chassis. And if you remember, we were ranking them, their performance at the time before we got our last points update. And then we got new ships, new points. Like the everything just changed. The points came a week earlier than we thought. And we just never hit Imperials. So Imperials will now be first. And I think it's thematic as it is our 186th episode, 186 fighter squadron. That works out. You know, the theme, and our Imperial lovers out there are like, all right, give us our imps. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that today. So in the Empire, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different ships. All right, 14 different ships. Now, here is the premise for these rankings. And I want to remind everybody, the idea is we are ranking them today. So that's with their current points. And while there might be only a single pilot that is good on the chassis, I think it's important for us to say that, but grade it as a whole. All right, rate it as a whole. So a single pilot can raise a tier by 1. We had a lot of those when we were doing. It's like, all right, no, I would think everything else is B tier, but this one pilot pulls it up to A, unless there's somebody so good that it pulls it up to S. But we'll go ahead and get started here. Everybody's been wanting these Imperials. Here you go. Merry Christmas, fam. All righty. So let's get started. The Decimator. We'll start with you. Decimator, our thick boy Decimators. Decimators are 16 health ships with a turret arc. They got focus, target lock, reinforce, rotate, and red coordinate.
I instinctively want to put it into the A tier. It is one of the thickest large base ships in the game. Super thick. It has the beautiful white reinforce that those zero utility ships need. 3-dice turret. Easy to use pilot abilities. We're looking at Rack, Morna, and Oiken. Very easy to use. So very effective in that. And really, the combination of strong Imperial crews and the high initiative on Rack has really seen it do well in competitive play. Do you need to have one in your squad to be effective? No, absolutely not. But the fact that it has utilized the crew and the upgrade slots that it has to great effect, I would think it solidifies itself into A.
Oh, and by the way, our crew, we can, if there's something we like adamantly go like, no, we can always jump in there. But we're going to go ahead and set that at A. Ryan, the TIE Striker.
TIE Striker, man, it's a fun ship. I love the design of it. I think it's really cool. Just wish it were a little better. Solid pilots across the board. The generics are good in Sloan swarms. The addition of bombs is cool. There's more bombs available. There's a lot more cheaper bombs, so maybe there's more we're going to see. Duchess has always been solid, but has seen a slight points increase. Countdown has seen some meta things show up as there's less ships in the meta, the more valuable Countdown becomes as a filler. Pure Sabak, fun, tends to flame out and explode though. So I think Striker probably B tier, in my opinion.
I agree. Like, I feel like in mass, they can do. We've seen some people fly Striker Swarms, for instance, and they can be really scary because they're a cheap 3-dice gun. When you got 3-dice guns out there, you can do a lot. But yeah, I would agree. Their current price and the meta that we're in, they're going to be sticking in that B tier for sure.
Yeah, and I actually don't know how much I don't know how I would change their price effectively without making them like a de facto choice over something else. So
Right.
it might be what's around it, not just themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, next one. Let's pull out. I'm curious to see what Marcel says on this one. The TIE X1. So Darth Vader's TIE Advanced. We got Darth Vader as a pilot, Merrick Steele, the generics, the Tempest.
You got Zendark, Zendesk, Zembargo.
Zertek
Strom, yes.
Yeah, that one.
Ved Foslo is the other one, and the Storm Squadron.
Yeah, actually, all of those pilots are pretty good. Merrick Steele is good. I think William is loving a little Merrick Steele. Vader is Vader. I think Vader's still the best ship in the entire faction. Maybe top 3 in the entire game. The Tempest is good. We've seen people like forgetting the name, Kent, just use those Tempests really well. The way that they're costed is good. I'm tempted to throw it all the way up to S, but that's mainly being pushed by
Vader right?
being so good. Yeah, I think as you take Vader out, I think it's like an A-, B+ without Vader. With Vader in it, it's an S. Yeah, you have to go S. Like,
ooh, can I jump in? I got to jump in.
You've played a lot. You've played a lot of X1.
It can't be S tier. It would be S tier if it had a natural boost.
Yeah, but it's got afterburners. You're fine. You only need 2 good boosts.
Chassis, though.
That's not the chassis, though.
It's not what we have today. These ships
So we're
naked.
saying with no upgrades? Because,
This
I
is
mean,
naked.
it's not the chassis, but you're also going to put fire control system.
Yeah, I guess the slots that are available, because I value the Tempests higher than like most people would, basically because they can take passive sensors, which is a big deal for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an integral part of why they could be fielded. I don't know. Would you ever see yourself taking Tempest without passive sensors?
Yeah, FCS.
Okay, I will.
So,
But
I'll meet you in the middle. How about we meet him in the middle? A-, because I will agree. Like Vader is A-. I mean, sorry, S-. Sorry, in between S and A. Sorry, in between S and A.
Wait a minute. Wrong.
Sorry,
in between.
words are hard. It is really good, and I feel like Vader is that powerful, where it's like if you're not flying some type of swarmy thing in Imperials, and you're just trying to build an Imperial list, you almost always reach for Vader first. Like, I want to build an Imperial list. All right, Vader. Now what else? So
you know what? Actually, I'll give it. I was the one that was fighting for S, but I'll give it A, and I'll give it A because of hyperspace. Vader loses a lot without the boost in hyperspace.
William looks in the
Vader
eye and be
loses
like,
a
"Do you
lot in
forget me?
hyperspace, but
Do
he
you
doesn't
forget
exist in
me?"
hyperspace.
Huh?
Vader isn't in hyperspace anymore.
Oh, he's not
sir.
anymore?
Yeah, he's
Nope,
not in-
He was.
he was
just the
before.
generic
This is
X-Ones.
extended only.
Mm-hmm. They did it to Boba and Vader, very movie iconic characters. They said, "I don't care, out for now."
Yeah.
What did we put in S tier for other factions? I'm just trying to get like a frame of reference.
Probably like Fang Fighters, Fire Sprays.
Boba, Fenn.
Would you like a quick peek at history here?
Do we want like?
I'm just trying to get a little reference. Like,
How far back was that? I mean, should we be slowly doing these over again
yeah,
after the points now? Like, should we sour this new fresh take with old takes?
This is true. This is true. I mean, when we initially started this series, we were saying this is something that we're going to have to revisit per each of the metas that we're in. This is something that we could always go back to and tweak and adjust. So this is, December 2020. This is going to set, and here's the thing. I would say that this one sets the stage for all of our other ones because the Imperials we're putting them first. So. And I'm not surprised that Vader is, of course, I just call it Vader. The X1 is causing this argument because it has a really wide range of pilots. We mostly see Vader, but we know, like, hey, you got a couple Tempests on the board. They can still hit like they still have the advanced targeting computer ability, which is just really, really good. It's just really dependent on what it is.
I was going to say, spoiler alert, I think there's quite a few more Imperial ships coming up where there's going to be a feature pilot with a couple good ones in there that's going to be to tailoring the line of S&A.
Yep, I agree. So do we want to... Are we starting the center line here, or do we have to commit?
No, I think it's A tier. To me, S tier means that it is how you described Vader. Like, you should start building your list with that, or you should try to find a way to include one in there. And I just couldn't recommend putting Ved Foslo in just any list.
True. I mean, if we're taking the entire chassis, I would agree with that. Okay, now let's start some more arguments. You ready? The TIE V1. All right.
Who gets to go on this one is the question.
Ryan, take it.
I think we're all in agreement. This is S tier. Every pilot is valuable. 100%.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, it's... I'm sure somebody's been like, really? You're going to rank the TIE V1 over Darth Vader, the Lord of the Sith? And the answer is yes.
100%. Hey, do your generics not need any upgrades? You could put 7 of them in a list and give 2 of them thread tracers, and you go, oh. Because I've counted to 200 with that before. It looks pretty solid.
Yep.
But also, like, the Inquisitors are valuable, even at those base ones. The actual named Inquisitors all have solid abilities, or at least have 2 or higher force, which turns out good with White Evades or the linked actions with the dial that it has. Like, I don't know, is there any one of these pilots I wouldn't put at A or higher?
No,
probably not.
No, they're all good. And
FFG went and gave us a card pack that added more pilots to it, and we were like, sweet, more good pilots. Like, it was the Baron was the worst for a long time, but with the price dropping, it ends up being in that A tier as well. So yeah, as a chassis, S tier, thumbs up, and it really has to do with the fact that so many of every pilot except the Baron of the Empire has force, has value there, really defensive, and the Barons are just cheap enough to really just solidify and hold on to that S tier. All right. Let's I think that was a little bit of a volleyball, Ryan, though. I'm going to give you a harder one. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, everyone immediately just did fingers up. I'm like, I'm with you. Yes.
All right. The TIE Bomber.
All right, so you said this is back to me, or
back to you? Yeah, back to you.
All right. TIE Bomber, man, this one has seen a bit of a resurgence, but only on the generic end, I feel. Which when a generic is really good, can push it higher because obviously you could take more of it. Major feature pilots we saw in the past, Captain Jonas has kind of fallen off a bit. Deathfire is just kind of fun, but like not really something people invest points into. Tomex, I think Will has had a couple games or played around with Tomex, just being that I-5 solid missile carrier. Just find a cheap munition, shoot it at I-5, just draw some aggro for cheap. No one's really used the Gamma Squadron Aces to my knowledge, but that dropping bomb ability with all these bombs, as cheap as they are right now, we've seen quite a few 5 to 6 TIE bomber lists do pretty well. Does that mean it's A tier? I don't know, because it really is just the generic and sometimes a named pilot rhymer for some cheeky fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think B, unless you guys really think that the generics being as effective as they are would mean they should be A.
I think A because of the bomb ability and where bombs are in the game today. Because you can put thermals, the fact that you can put thermals, tracers, the bombardier, and just have bombs basically everywhere and then being able to throw off. So they're cheap enough. Like I flew 5 of them. I think I showed you guys. I had like thermals and the counter nets and then double missiles on all of them. And they're 6 hull with 2 agility.
My only argument to keep it in the B tier is that really you're only playing 1 out of 6 pilots. You're playing the Scimitar Squadron 9 times out of 10, unless you're memeing. Like if you're trying,
so it's the reverse Vader,
right?
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that because I mean, with that bomber is an A, not an S tier. So yeah, okay.
We
It hurts,
them.
but yeah. Because you guys have played against 5 or 6 of these. You know how terrible of it. It's bad. It does not feel good.
Oh yeah, we've all been hurt before. Show me on the bomber where they touch you. All right, here we go. Now let's talk about a or the newest Imperial ship, the TIE Brute. So the TIE Brute for me is in a weird place. On release, we saw some people in Galaxies trying. I think the most effective one that we've seen has been like 4 brutes. Is probably the most common that I've seen win games. Rampage, people want that to be really good, and in like weird list building situations, it shines. But if we're just talking about, the main competitive game, I don't know if I can put the TIE Brute, and please help me out if I'm wrong here. I don't know if from what I've seen and played, if I can put the TIE Brute anywhere higher than B. Like, I think it has competitive value, but you have to spam them. And really, I think their biggest value is the fact that they are so thick. And when you bring 4 of them, you have 36 health that you have to chew through.
We also haven't seen many people, I think, experiment with Rampage much. It seems like he could be solid in an Imperial 4, maybe 5 ship list that's not a bunch of other brutes. But I'd agree, no higher than B.
The problem I've been having with them lately is that the best droid, the attack droid, doesn't want you to have green tokens. The best green token they can take is the reinforce. And if you're reinforcing, then you don't have any mods unless you get like a Hall Runner or what's the I3? I can never remember the name. Lisban? S-Ban?
Leighton?
Leighton? Yeah. Unless you're bringing some sort of support role for them, they don't look great reinforcing, and that's kind of bad. Like that. I wish it was built around if I wish the targeting astromech thing said if you are reinforcing, you can get free calculates. If you, I wish it had like rotate linked to reinforce instead of rotate linked to calculate. That would be so much better. But that's really the problem is that I just don't think people have figured out a way to fly them like a fire spray without the repositionings, come in for a front arc, flip around, utilize that rear arc on the way out, and they just haven't really been able to function like how I would have assumed they would have.
So
Oh, I'm saying B tier.
You're saying B tier as well? Okay.
Has utility, can be good, seen it in some good lists, but overall not great.
Are they really just as valuable as TIE bombers, though?
And that's my question is like,
I was thinking, yeah.
Overall, when we
I would
look
take
at
a
where
striker or a bomber above that.
Can't deny your logic there. We're really getting the hard cuts here on the Imperials. I mean, I can't deny the logic. The bomber and striker are probably better because this thing needs a cannon and droids and support and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
so, makes sense to me.
All right, so the TIE Brute falling to C tier there. All right, let's jump here to an Imperial classic, the Lambda Shuttle. The Lambda Shuttle, the Gendon Shuttle. I mean, the Lambda Shuttle. I mean, let's be honest, right? We fly, when you see a Lambda Shuttle out there, you see Gendon, for the simple fact that it's able to share out target locks. But sometimes you see it out there as a Krennic carrier as well, because by taking the ST321, so you have target lock, and you can set up some different things that way. But my issue is a lot of times Gendon's value is it is 100% a support ship, and sometimes Lieutenant Psy is for me when I'm list building, I always try to make Psy work, and then I immediately say I can find something better than it. But I feel like Gendon, like if you're building some of those missile or target lock dependent lists out there, pulls up the chassis until you remember that they just released thread tracers and we have 28-point TIE V1s. So there's some while the timing isn't the same and the TIE V1 ends up shooting later on, I think it does hurt some of the value on Gendon just a little bit. I mean, I'm taking the Lambda Shuttle and I'm putting it. I'm thinking B- off the top of my head, but I kind of want to commit to one, so I'm gonna say that it pulls it up to B.
Name another support ship that it would even competes with the Lambda for Imperials.
What other support ship I mean, the Reaper was better. Is it better? I think the
That's
Reaper,
really the question.
Yeah, the Reaper's better. You have
depends on the crew you're carrying.
All right, so here let's. I think it's maybe important. Do we look at both of these at the same time? Do we look at the Lambda Shuttle and the Reaper?
They really depend on each other because they're in such the same category. Now, I prefer the Lambda Shuttle to the Reaper simply because it has reinforce. But there's something to be said about the Reaper's maneuverability.
All right.
We also have the pilots. So if we're talking about the Reapers, right? The standout originally everyone always looked at was Major Vermeil. Still a great ability. Fits really well in a lot of other high initiative ships with wingmates. So that by the time Vermeil shoots, his better shot is likely to trigger his ability. But then we saw the prevalence of Captain Faroff carrying crew like Sloane or other very valuable crew that have very large widespread effects where the Reaper, being as fast as it can be, can still speed around the map and still provide those bonuses to effects such as even Palpatine crew as well, and Sloane crew and anything that has a wide bubble. And we've obviously seen Captain Faroff was featured in the Galactic winner, correct?
Yeah, the Galactic Championship winner, Charlie Cloet. We had a Reaper there in the finals and got the win.
Yep. But then we've also seen Verzier, I've never seen used.
No,
we have the generic, who's barely also ever used. But technically you can fit 5 Reapers in a list, and I've seen someone use it before, I think. So that's breakdown of the Reaper at least.
So I think this is going to come down a little bit to a vote. It's a weird spot, and what we'll do, we'll let the audience participate in this one as well as our opinion. So right now, let's hit the Lambda first, okay? The Lambda. Are we placing it in B or C tier? Because that's where it sounds like where we were.
I think with the discussion on the Reaper, I think it solidified itself as B tier to me.
The Lambda?
The Lambda.
Yeah. I think the Reaper.
I don't think
actually
either
is
of these
better.
can even touch C tier, to be quite honest. I think B at a minimum for both.
Yeah, I agree. I think the coordinate, the reinforce, the heft of it, how as a pulp carrier, as a support ship, it just takes a long time to kill it, even if it is, even if it's just barely moving. It's still not easy to kill.
I think one of the only reasons why we've only seen less of the Lambdas is just because the prevalence of triple Imperial Aces working so well to get around swarms and attack from multiple angles. When you had more lower ship count lists, you could have 2 Aces backed up by a solid support and not have to worry about losing that shuttle so easily. Granted, it has reinforced, but under enough weighted fire, it can be burned down still quick.
So here's another question. I know that we're lingering a lot on these two because I think they serve the same function most of the time, right? They are the carrier of your crew that your list is built around. It seems to be like their job, namely Sloan as of late, but sometimes can be Krennic as well, because you can't do Krennic on the. I guess you could, but the. Ah, man. Same tier, different uses. Is that kind of where we're at? Just depends on what you want to fit in the list.
We convinced ourselves that they're both B tier. There's nothing. They have so much utility, but you need to find the role for them. You need to find the right squad.
You're right. That's kind of how we defined B tier in the past. Is like it's not something you always look for to take, but it's something that if played well, used correctly, and has the right upgrades, can still be competitive.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and slot both of those in the B tier and just flavor to taste and see what also is built around it. And it seems like our audience also agreed there, at least on the Lambda. I know we didn't give them the option on the Reaper. Let's go with the pairing here. Also Galactic Championship winning the TIE Aggressor. Now, I think this is a really interesting argument because we said it right after the championship. Like, oh, it's really cool that the TIE Aggressor won. But then we said, but wait, did the Aggressor win or did Sloan win? Was our question. Marcel, go ahead.
I think we know the answer. The Sloan one. That you take Sloan out of the equation, the Aggressor is back in the dumpster. Not C tier, it's in the dumpster. So I think the fact that it's a good Sloan support, it takes it out of the dumpster, brings it up to C, because it's only the initiative, like the lowest initiative ones. The named are Garbage, Edge, and whoever else is there. And also, just because that happens to be like the flavor that's working best with Sloan right now, doesn't mean that you can't put Sloan with strikers, with a bunch of TIE fighters. I mean, there's you take this out and you put a bunch of TIE fighters in there, cheaper ones. You add an extra 1 or 2 ships on top of that, and you're still probably winning tournaments and making cuts and going far. So I would put it as a C.
So I want to argue with you just for the sake of arguing and bringing up just a couple of different points of contention here. So the TIE Aggressor being such a cheap chassis is really its biggest strength, because the reason it works with Sloan is you can get so many bodies in the list with them in there. you are able to put a pretty cheap dorsal turret, because it was a combination of things that made the list work so well, right? You had a really cheap chassis, the price go down. You had a dorsal turret where the price went down, and it became easier to use, and I think those combination of things, because if you remember, I believe it was in the final or the semifinal, the TIE aggressors did really, really well without even the support of Sloan. Now, they had the numbers. You can't argue that. So I would argue that it is a swarming ship, not a... the named ones, even though I know there are some people who really got a lot of love for... I'm forgetting her name. What's the named one? Kestel. There's a lot of people who got double edge is trash, but for the reason that I believe currently in its state it is a swarming ship, and I even flown a couple times on our Wednesday night streams with no Sloan and have done okay with it. For that reason, I want to place it in B. And that's where I am right now. I think if it had at least a decently competitive Ace higher initiative ship, I might even bump it up to A. But because of those named ones, I'd be at B. Ryan, Will, your 2 cents here?
It's in this day and age of X-Wing, more arcs is good. They can take more arcs. Having that 180-degree band of attacking is really superior. Now that they've found a good price cost as well, I don't think they should be in C tier. You can clearly you can find a list, a very particular list, but you can find a list that they're good in.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say it's C tier when there were so many other variations of the Sloan archetype, and while some still very successful, we saw a Reaper with Sloan, 4 TIE fighters and 2 interceptors do well. We saw the Rack Sloan, the big beefy Rack with 4 academies do well. So just because it won one of the events, did we get one more victory for the Fair-Off aggressor archetype? I think, was it 2 victories for events, or was it just close in one of them?
I think there was a couple of them that made the top 4.
Yeah,
at some of the qualifiers. I'm not remembering off the top of my head. I'm sure some of our audience would be able to help us with some of those stats.
Sure. So it's hard for me to say that it can be C tier because it's shown a lot of competitive capabilities specifically in one archetype, and I think that's where B is how it lands. It, as a chassis with its pilots in total outside of the Sloan archetype, it really does fall off, barring, I don't know, maybe something we haven't explored yet, but it's just so niched into one spot that I could see why people could think C tier. I mean, B plus or B minus C plus, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm around, but I'm like, either way, I think B is its maximum for sure.
All right, we're gonna slap it into B tier, and if I had a little emoji face of Marcel, I'd put it down here. Him mad at the aggressor.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I mean, a lot of these, I think it's also maybe a little bit of play style. Like I don't fly. I mean, I flew the bomber. I enjoyed it, but yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
All righty. Let's move on here to the TIE Defender. I'm going to relegate this one to Ryan. I think there's some interesting things to talk about it in extended and in hyperspace. I think it has 2 different, very, very different roles. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so right now what I've been messing around with in hyperspace is realizing the defenders, now that they are in hyperspace, even if they're just the generic ones, and by the way, if you're taking the generic ones, you're taking the deltas, because you have such a token stack, you're so unlikely to die or take actual like big damage without some crazy variance that you want to guarantee you're getting those tokens by being initiative 1 and moving first anyway. You don't want to risk the chance of bumps with the I-4. And the token stack of those in hyperspace, on top of Emperor Palpatine being available in hyperspace, with Captain Farroff has meant a base archetype looks like 2 defenders and a Palp Farroff as a solid, very sturdy squad, tough to bring down, because there's only so much firepower you can bring in hyperspace in certain archetypes. For the named pilots, we know Rexler Brath has seen some good play. I think the better loadouts are with advanced sensors. Yes, when you use advanced sensors, you lose the free evade full throttle, but advanced sensors on a TIE Defender that's higher than Initiative 1 is so valuable to make sure it gets to token or action or reposition to somewhere where it's not going to be shot, that has been very worth it, and to sort of counteract that while you have that white 4K, I think a lot of people have also thrown out Maneuver as the choice of talent on Rexler Brath. But in terms of Countess Riot and Vessery, very, very minimal usage. So it's a defensive powerhouse, hard to bring down sometimes, but it is worth so many points that you're very rarely going to get a lot of ships in a list to help support it. So it tends to be in niche lists and not as flexible. So, I mean, I would put it in B tier myself.
Marcel, you want your turn to dissent?
No, actually, I agree with this one. I think it's a B tier. It's a super solid ship, but the way that it's costed, it's just you can melt it down, and you're not gonna, with only 2 of them, you're gonna kill it. But it's just what I was the face of what I was making is basically everything is B, and
I think what we're identifying is that the Empire is consistent. Is that what we're seeing?
I mean, we're not done yet, but yeah, there's not a lot. I'll say I don't think there's a lot of C tier in Empire, which
No, they have good chassis.
Comparison to other factions, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and like I said, I probably would have thrown a couple of these down and see. Somebody in the chat was making a good point that, when we were talking about like the bombers, for example, with the bombs and the 5, and we were saying, well, we're not going to, put them up in A or do something like that because of that one list. But yet, that's exactly why we put the aggressor in B instead of C, because of that one list. I mean, they're really where have they been without Sloan? It's just that one. It's not even that one list. It's that one card. So that's where I think we're not being consistent with our criteria.
Well, I did cite that. So here's a question: if Sloan didn't exist, okay? If Sloan didn't exist, so let me reverse this. Because Sloan exists, there is no reason not to fly Sloan with them. Okay? Like the card is there's nothing you could do about it. But I think that if somebody just flew an aggressor swarm, the lowest initiative, and just them, I still think that it would be B tier on its own without Sloan. I think what Sloan does is that in those lists, it pulls it even higher. That the Charlie's list by itself ends up being A or S tier, arguably. I actually call it A tier, but it is Sloan pulls it that way. But I think really it's the initiative 2 that's holding up the chassis. I see where you at. I see where you're at. But we got to move on from the aggressor. I know you love that aggressor. We got to keep it going here. Alrighty. Let's take Redline. Redline, starting 2nd edition, one of the most popular ships out there. Now really hard to find. Will.
I'm gonna get some immediate backlash from this, but that thing is going in C tier, and I'll explain why. That I think Redline and his standard loadout, which is people seem to enjoy advanced sensors, which is the correct choice, and proton torpedoes, 73 points for 2 shots. Not exciting. I think that there is unexplored territory with Death Rain, being able to launch bombs and do thermal shenanigans, or you do all this fancy maneuvering. But it becomes expensive. And almost like I never know if I say this right, but Rune Goldberg, the thing that like collapses, so then it knocks over the marble and it hits some dominoes or whatever, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like Death Rain is like, all right, first I gotta launch my bomb, and then I'm barrel roll, and then I guess I'll boost because that barrel roll was red, and then I'm going to drop another bomb, and then I get a focus, so that way I could shoot some other missile that I had paid for previously. Like it's just, it can work, sure. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's overly complicated is essentially the problem. The Cutlass squadrons, which I don't think anyone's really even bothering to try right now, especially with the new missile and payload options. I think that there is something there, whatever that could be. I know a lot of people, or not a lot of people, I know people have tried multiple of them with advanced proton torpedoes. With that medium base boost lock, they can get into that range one pretty quickly. Is that exciting? No, not really. I don't really want to spend points on just one attack on these things. Overall, because
I think you identified its biggest issue. It's a point suck, right?
Yeah, it needs more upgrades, and then you need more upgrades to get those upgrades to work, and like nothing's really helping it. That's not what I mean. Nothing's helping it really outperform other ships that could just be shooting the same munitions, right?
Right.
Like Redline is good. I mean, he's an I-5 real heavy hitter, but his points are just astronomical these days. 73 points for that proton torpedo, which is not how I would even run it, by the way.
Right. I think people's opinions on Redline, specifically Redline, are colored by the fact that when we started second edition, he was ridiculously cheap. The Punisher was priced to sell.
Yeah, trajectory was cheap, advanced sensor was cheap, proton torpedoes was cheap. Just everything you needed in this ship was set to sell, I think. And it just isn't anymore. For 73 points, man, that's Vader with afterburners and fire control system. Like, I don't know about that. Fire control. Yeah, well, okay, sorry. Excuse me. The afterburners Vader is 75, but that's not. You don't want to be in that league. Yeah, like, so I think maybe it's just us not fully exploring the Cutlass, or not really utilizing Death Rain. But I just think they're too complicated. There's too much going on with it to be effective.
Yeah, I agree it's a C, but don't sleep on Death Rain with thermals and a proton, because a Death Rain, thermals, detonators, and proton comes in at 58 points, and that gives him essentially advanced sensors for 4 turns and protons, and you also can, even when you really need it, be able to take 3 actions in your turn: drop 1 bomb, take an action, drop another bomb, take an action.
What are you shooting in that list? And do you have trajectory simulator? Did you say trajectory simulator?
No, I said proton torpedoes and thermal detonators.
Oh, proton torpedoes.
Because it's basically a bomb on. It's advanced sensors for him at system phase, but still you can get 2 or 3 actions in 1 turn.
But once again, you're spending like almost now 60 points for a couple bombs and 2 shots.
Well, I guess maybe the argument would be that if those 2 shots net you at least that many points in your opponent's list, is it worth it? It's a high risk, high reward, because it definitely feels bad when you invest all those points and you don't get the bombs off, or you don't get the torpedoes off.
And I think you're talking to a guy that flies like an 80-something point X-wing. So
Fair.
58 points for 2 torpedoes. Yeah, I'll take it.
All righty.
I gotcha.
So we're gonna. I would agree though. We're gonna leave that right now. It's a what have you done for me lately? And Punishers, not much. Ryan, you want to get some sense in here?
Lately, they've just died to ships on the opposing side of the table that normally have a lot more than just 3 ships in the list. I think when 2nd edition started, obviously Redline was cheap. That's the easy thing to notice. The other thing was that the ship count was average, kind of low, with a little bit of Drea swarms creeping in here and there. Sloan, people were experimenting a little bit, but the average ship count was kind of low, and Separatists didn't exist yet either. And neither did 5 A-Wings to a large degree. Now, with so many more ships on the board, Redline's ability to attempt to eliminate one of those ships with his wingmates if they're focus firing, his value, Redline or Death Rain's value has gone down lower because they just can't take out enough before they just burn up and die.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All righty. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next chassis here, and that is the TIE Phantom. The TIE Phantom. Now, I think right now we're seeing so much more Echo than Whisper as of late. If you look at Galaxies, Whisper showed up a lot early on, and when the points the Whisper went up in price? Is that what happened? Right, Whisper went up in price, and then everybody just like, well, we'll just go ahead and try to fill that same Imperial Ace, the Imperial Ace archetype. Talking about like, for instance, like Ali's the World Champions list with Grand Inquisitor, Darth Vader, and Whisper that no longer fit. So people went to Echo. With Collision Detector is what we usually see, but they usually have Fifth Brother on there for some type of modification. We did see at the Lima Open a targeting computer version of Echo being put out there as well. There's a lot of different things. We've seen the generics not even be used anymore. When on the onset of 2nd edition, they were the bee's knees. They were fantastic because of how cheap they were. I think right now, because Echo pulls it up and is a very, very good ship, but overall, because of the price, and only because of the price, I think that's the reason why they can't be S tier. But the maneuverability of the ship, I believe, just with the decloaking possibility every turn, places it at the A tier. Alrighty. That one's pretty cut and dry. I don't think there's much arguments on that one.
Even 4 of them with passive sensors at Initiative 4.
Yeah.
They're solid.
Yeah, yep. Say if you talk with the chat, they are very much advocating for an S tier, but I do understand this is very similar to the X1 argument, I would think.
Yep.
But even more so, the X1 is probably closer to S tier than the Phantom right now. The one thing we don't know, and similar to as mentioned about the Punisher a little bit by Will, is I don't know how many people have actually tried using the generic Phantoms that much. I feel like they're still pretty good, but they just haven't been implemented in many lists. Everyone looks at the name Echo and Whisper so often that getting even just one generic in, like, I don't know, that 40-point range, that TIE Phantom at 43, that's pretty close to a TIE V1, though. Like, your named one's your Fifth Brother, your Seventh Sister, so you're like battling that decision. So I think A is definitely still fine. I can see the argument for S, but what we don't know is, are the generic Phantoms worth taking, or are they not taken for a reason, or are they not taken because people aren't trying?
Right. All right. Now let's go with an Imperial. What's the word I'm looking for? Something that just identifies Empire so well. The TIE Fighter.
Staple?
Not a staple. No, not a staple. Not competitive
not a staple.
but an icon. An Imperial icon. That's the word I was looking for. All right. The TIE Fighter. All right. And this is where the chat begins to scream, free Howl Runner. I mean, who wants to be the bad guy?
C.
All right. I'm going to try and abdicate it to be above C.
Okay.
Red line.
Try.
If Red line is a C, he's a C. Come on, if the Brute is a C, these guys are a C. They're just for their what are they? 22 points, right?
22
for the academies, yes.
Yeah, so they're relatively cheap, but yeah, just give me a bunch of 20-point drones instead than this. I mean, just
that's a whole other faction, though. What if I don't want to play Separatists?
Don't matter. Like you've got, it's just not that good. The named pilots are not that good. The FOs is what these things want to be, but they're not. So, I don't know. Go ahead, make your pitch for a B. But
all right. Well, let's go down the pilots that are deservedly meant to be in that C tier or lower, theoretically. No one uses the Obsidian Squadron pilot. Do people remember there's an Obsidian Squadron pilot? I don't know. Do you know it's I2? I bet most of you don't. Black Squadron Ace. Yes, there's a Black Squadron Ace outside of T70s. This one is I3 and has a talent. Whatever. Night Beast. If you're going 3 points more than Academy, you probably want to bid and have the Academy bumps, help bump stuff for your Ace that's, trying to catch something. Scourge Skatu has a way to roll additional die, but requires bullseye. Yeah, maybe. And then we get to some of the stuff that's been part of the Inferno Squadron before, which we may see a resurgence of Howlrunner and Inferno Squad in hyperspace. So it's an archetype that can be utilized. Iden Versio and Howlrunner, they are connected at the hip. If you're bringing Howlrunner, you're bringing Iden. Iden is such a game-changing aspect when you have to go against a TIE swarm. You're basically negating almost an entire round of shooting, it feels like you're only negating one by rule, but it almost is negating an entire round, because normally an entire round of shooting against a TIE swarm ideally wants to take out at least one TIE. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do when Iden is around. Then you have pilots like Gideon. I've seen Gideon used a lot as a filler on top of being in the swarm. The simple used to be 30 points, now 29 points. You just need a damage on an opponent, and he can roll additional die. Range one, no matter what range. So it can provide a range 1 4-dice shot, which Mauler Mythil can do as well at I5. You just 30-point ship, throw him into range 1 and just do damage, boy. Do whatever you can. Delmico, Wampa, another way to get 3 dice, but enforces opponents with target priority issues. So overall, we're looking at just enough to make a TIE swarm look interesting, but a lot of other things that don't look great.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gideon is your best argument to say there's some, because you do see some play of Gideon, because it is a high initiative. It's initiative 5, right? Initiative 4. And you got people. I remember Julian Hood brought a Imperial salad list at Initiative 4 that was really, really good. And Gideon, what's nice to have there and be able to round out the round of attacks and being able to shoot last when you have a bunch of other things shooting at 4. But I think overall right now, I think we have to put it at the bottom. I think it still says C until you show me something, TIE Fighters, which I'm sure somebody out there is going to try. But I feel like as an X-Wing community, we get very emotional. Like the meta is slightly emotional because I'm sure there's some stuff out there on ships that were good in the past, but have now been left behind because, like, you know what, your points went way up. I'm not looking at you again, and it takes somebody to be brave to boost up those TIE fighters. Well, we'll have to wait and see. We got 2 more to hit here. Will, I'm going to yeet this one to you just because I think it's hilarious. The Alpha Class Star Wing.
Oh, that's
your favorite. Major Vendor. Gunboats in the chat.
Major Vendor. Yeah, I know. Oh, man. These things are not great. They haven't been for a while. There was Hatchet Man, Major Vendor, backed with a Palpagenden. Had a lot of success, but it required a literal other, a whole other ship just to be successful. I think we could see some as fillers. Nobody really uses the new Squadron as like a filler, like a cheap to throw in there. They do have nice cannons, but we really Auto Blasters never really did anything for them, and they can't take the synced laser cannon. You know, I'm putting in C. I'm just trying to
I know.
have any redeeming quality of them. And I just don't really see it. I think we could see them. Essentially, what it comes down to is that the extra health and a little bit better shields doesn't get it to be better than the TIE Bomber. TIE Bomber, for 5 points less, can shoot just as good like missiles and torpedoes as the Star Wing ever could. So I just don't know the role that they fill anymore. Also, I don't like that they can't K-turn. That's really
It's annoying.
Great.
It can get annoying for sure. All right, and last but not least, the TIE Interceptor. I know, get your Sunterfells off in the chat right now, at home. I'm sure you're singing, you're humming. The TIE Interceptor, I find to be a very interesting specimen. Marcel, what do you think?
Let's see, you got Sunterfall that used to be a definitive S. It's probably dropped off a tiny bit. Can still be just a lot of bombs. There's a lot of you know, the force. So it's still an S, but it's not nearly what it used to be. It's just it just fell off. Turfinair is a meme. The Initiative 1s are good blockers, 31-point blockers. They're better than the TIE Striker for sure. So if you compare just the TIE Striker to an Initiative 1 TIE Interceptor, I'll take the Interceptor every day. So I'm just for that. I want to put it in. No, it's not an A. Just with Sunterfell, I'm kind of like stuck between an A and a B. Like Sunterfell is up there. The Initiative 1s are better than the rest. Those are the only 2 ships. If Carter Jax was around, it'd be an S plus.
It's so funny. We bring up Carter Jack so often, and there's so many second edition only players who are like, who? Carter who? Carter what?
No, remind me, Carter Jack's ability was that you cannot use or take a focus or an evade within range 1 bubble of Carter Jack. So if you move close to him, you can't take the action. If he ends up close to you, you can't use
you can't
those
even
tokens
spend it,
against anyone. Period.
Canonically, on a Legends level, he was a high-ranking Imperial guard that was really good at fighting opposing Jedi or Force users. I think it'd be really sweet if Carnor Jax came in here and had some nullifying force effects. Like, you can't recharge your force at the end phase if you're within range 0 to 1 of Carnor Jax. I'm playing Empire.
Right.
Or you can't even use your force ability if you're between 0 to 1, like a force blocker. Oh, that would be so nice. I want a Carnor Jax. Anyway, back to the Interceptor. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck between B and an A. It's better than the Strikers. It's got to be an A. Just because if I'm comparing it to the Strikers, Sunter is better than Duchess. The I-1 is better than the Striker I-1. So I'm going to say A.
Sorry, I'm reacting to something that Isophane just sent me. All right, that's cool. All right. So our final Imperial rankings here. We have at the C tier. I'm sorry, where were we putting the Interceptor to end? Are we ending in B or A?
A.
A. Okay. So starting from the bottom. At the C tier, we have the TIE Brute, the TIE Punisher, the TIE Fighter, and the Alpha Class Starwing. In the B tier, the TIE Striker, Bomber, Lambda Shuttle, Reaper, Aggressor, and Defender. In Tier A, we have the Decimator, the TIE X-1, that's TIE Advanced, the Darth Vader's ship, the TIE Phantom, and the TIE Interceptor. And at the S tier, all alone, the TIE V1, also known as a TIE Prototype. Alrighty, so let us know right now in the comment section down below or in the chat if you're watching live, which one, only one, if there was one of these you could change from our opinions, which one would it be? I'll find it really, really interesting. Looking into the past, looking at the, I'm forgetting the wave number, but the wave where we gave our way too early rankings for the HMP gunship, the Psi shuttle, and the LAT gunship. All right, so we're going to be taking a look, see where we placed each of the pilots and upgrades in those expansions. We'll take a look at what we did and how right and or wrong we were. Feel free to judge us as harshly as you'd like in the comments down below. And for those of you who are listening, we're going to do our best to paint you a picture with our words so you can follow along at home as well. Okay, so you know who, let's Will, what ship do we want to start with? I'll let you choose.
Let's go back to the Psi shuttle. I think that was one of the first ones we had done.
All right, let's head over there. Shablamo, there it is. The Psi shuttle in all its glory and our way too early rankings. As a reminder, there were 4 different pilots that were included in this expansion, and it looks like we had 7 different upgrade cards that were there in the expansion as well. Let's start by going through the pilots. All right, so and we'll go from lowest initiative to highest initiative. And one of the things is when we made these way too early rankings, we had no idea what the points would be. Now we know what the points are, so we can make an adjustment to what we did versus what it was. All right, so starting with the First Order Courier, we placed it at the B tier, talking about, it was, maybe if it's a good value in points, it could work. I have never actually seen the thing flown because I feel like the value for Moloris and Gideon specifically make it so that the First Order Courier doesn't matter as much. I mean, any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I'd agree. The point differential between the generic and the named pilots is so small that the generic one has very few times that you care to take it for whether it's coordinating, jamming, or carrying a certain crew.
Yeah, really the only value that it has is it allows the chassis to equip automated targeting and priority. All the other ones are, I guess you could put on Agent Terex. Never mind. Backing away. There is no reason. You really need I2 coordinating, whatever that would be.
All right. So in the end, do we end up dropping this to C It's a C. It's a C tier.
all the way down.
Let's see. How should we mark this? Should we put like arrows going up or down? Maybe.
I think we just are we moving them, or are we just saying did we get it right or not?
We can move them to show that we were. You know what I'll do? I'm going to make a copy of what we have, and then we'll be able to flip back and forth between the past and what we think it is now.
Can you put like a red outline or background behind it?
Yeah, if we were right or wrong. I got us.
Right.
I got us. All right. So I'll get that set up on my side. I'm going to go ahead and drop this to C. Okay. So we were wrong on that, or it was worse than we thought. All right. So I'll do red for worse than we thought, and blue for better than we thought, and a white for if we got it right. All right. So I'll pass Agent Terex off to Marcel.
Agent Terex. Yeah, I think I'm mixed between. I think we might have got it right, but no, it's probably a C as well. He don't like it.
Are you insane?
You're talking about the ship or the
ship? The
Oh yeah. Okay.
Come on,
Sorry.
we're talking ship.
Oh,
It's
I thought you were talking about the crew. I was like, what?
No, you think he actually has a ship? So the fact that you didn't even know that he has a ship,
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right about that one.
he has a ship. So yeah, I think that one is probably C as well.
All righty.
Just
That was fantastic. Amazing miscommunication. All right, let's go on now to Gideon Hask. Ryan.
So we put Gideon like B plus, I assume A minus ish.
Yeah.
It's weird because the point differential when they first came out between Hask and Moloris was so low. Most people went up to Moloris and proved to be very effective. Not going to go too much in Moloris because we'll get to that later. Hask, I've seen used a little bit. It's not that his ability is bad. It's just for the points, most of the time Moloris has been better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't built a lot of FO lists recently because in hyperspace, there's no Epsilon cadets, which I feel like fuel the list of Moloris and Hask a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had time to like what Moloris lists basically don't get Agent Terex crew anymore. So does it matter to go down to Hask to get Agent Terex crew in most of those lists? I don't know. Haven't tried it. I think we keep him. He's kind of in the unknown. Like he could be A. Like it's a powerful ability. It's a little more niche because of the damage aspect. So I could understand dropping it down to B. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it solidified itself as a B. Can work, but normally there's other options you would choose.
Yeah, I think those you just split. They were in the middle, but one goes up, one goes down.
Yeah. Hask isn't bad, and yeah, I think putting it down, solidifying it as a B would make sense.
All right. Well, then let's go on and pass on because it sounds like we just also did our Moloris there. Go ahead, talk about it, Will.
Yeah. So Moloris has, I think, been a large focal point for a swarmy FO list, where I pointed out the Epsilon cadets, the lowest generic. I guess they're just FO fighters. But we had already seen success with like 8 FOs in that. So putting in passive rerolls, an option to coordinate, and a beefy tank at high initiative in Moloris has actually proved very formidable. The fact that there's so many options for low initiative, I1 silencers, I1 FOs, the I2 Zeta SFs, things like that, that essentially the penalty of string doesn't matter because you can just clear it next round, or there's so many of you that can't shoot every person with string. So I think it's, like I said, it solidified itself, like malware, I believe is what they were calling it, like solidified itself as a scary first order list.
I would agree, 100%. All right, so we hit the pilots there. We didn't get any of those right, but one was better than what we thought. Okay, let's now, Ryan, you sounded real passionate about Agent Tarek's crew. Let's talk about Agent Tarek's crew.
So yeah, my first initial thought on Agent Tarek's crew when it first came out, obviously looked great, and the points, my mind was baffled because I thought 6 points was way too low for him. Time's gone by, we've seen him featured in the malware lists and on these Xi shuttles a ton. He's the main crew people would put on. Have crew carrying based Xi shuttle lists beyond malware been as effective? We haven't seen that much. Now when we're looking at the ETAs and Shock T and Hondo coordinating at range 3, I'm a little more okay with jamming at range 3 with Agent Terex right now to combat some of that token stacking we might be seeing more of. The effects are so good. I don't know if I drop it out of S tier because can you think of another crew that you'd want to put on the Xi shuttle other than Terex, no matter the cost?
No.
Like, no one takes anything else. This is like, if you put a crew on a ship, it's going to be Agent Terex first.
Yep.
That level of auto-include tells me its effects of it on the board are S tier. Now, does Terex on a Xi shuttle, no matter what Xi shuttle is, work with a list that someone is building other than a malware-style list? Like, people haven't found that, most of the time, people haven't found that here's a Xi shuttle with Terex and a couple of other. I mean, I guess we did see Kylo malware, I think, Kylo Moloris with Terex with, I think, 3 cadets was a thing that worked well.
He had Proud Tradition and a bid.
Oh, okay. Didn't have Terex or didn't have room. I think it was 5 points left, so it didn't have the 6. And Terex is now at 7 too, by the way. Like, he did go up by 1.
Yeah, it fit at 6, but not anymore at 7.
Yeah. So I think he stays in S. It's hard to really compete with his value when you can place it in the list. It just seems niche where the Xi shuttle that normally carries him would work in a list.
I agree, 100%. 100%. So, yeah, I would agree that we got that one right. We identified that it was a really powerful ability, and we're keeping it up there in that S tier. Let's now talk about Commander Moloris crew. Okay, that's one that honestly we haven't seen too much of it. I'll pull it over here so we can actually read the ability. So Commander Moloris perfected, and she has the what's the name of the other side? We see it so much. It's just Captain Moloris. So on the onset, it says to equip it face up, and while a friendly non-limited ship, so a generic ship, so while a friendly generic ship at range 0 to 1 performs a primary attack, that ship may re-roll 1 blank result. If it does, and the attack does not hit, you must flip this card. And then essentially what we're not going to even worry about the back. What has happened here is it's not better than Terex. Right? I almost feel like that's where it is. What's the point cost on Commander Moloris crew?
It's the same as Terex. They're both 7 points.
I mean, you can't. There's no value there. There's no value. So I mean, I think we identified pretty early that the ability was bad, and I think I kind of want to make it red just to say that it was worse than what we thought. Like, it should be in the dumpster tier. Compared to Terex, but since it's in C, we'll leave it. I'll say that we got that one right.
Dumpster it.
Even if you dumpster it, it's still C.
Because, like, man, that thing being at 7 points is crazy because it feels like an effect that is more in line with, like, Commander Cody Gunner or, like, Five's crew, the 3-4 points. It's weird.
All right. Well, I'm getting my open dumpster image. It's on the way. So we'll go ahead and leave that one there. All right, let's head over now. Let's head over to one that I think we were very wrong on. The one that we were the most wrong on. Automated target priority. Automated target priority. So if you guys haven't taken a look at this card yet, it's really, really solid. Yes, you got some play around conditions. I'm sorry, it's a little blurry. It's just because of the when we made it small. But while you perform an attack, you must choose a defender at the closest valid attack range. After you perform an attack that missed, place one calculate on a token on this card, and before you engage, you may remove one calculate token from this card to gain a matching token. Now, if I remember correctly, the reason we put it so low is we were, I think, were we sure that it was going to be pretty expensive? And then it turned out not to be?
Yeah, we were convinced it was going to be like 3 points or 4 points. But man, it's hard to argue with 1 point upgrades that give you free stuff for pretty much doing nothing. Right? You're not trying to miss. If you happen to, okay, I'll take a benefit from it.
Yeah, I have just had it come into play in a few games where that targeting restriction on who you can shoot has mattered a little bit. So
yeah, definitely. If your whole list has automated targeting priority, your enemy can abuse that.
Yeah, I mean,
especially if most of your list all has the same initiative, and you kill the thing that's closest to all of your ships with the second shot, and everyone else has to keep shooting at the same ship.
Shoot! All right, so where are we going to end up with this? We know it's better than C tier. Where are we at?
I think it's an A.
Yeah, I'm in on A. Should bring if you can.
Yeah, if you've got a point, throw it on there. Again, don't stack your list with it, but a ship here, a ship there. Yep.
Works really well on even named I3 and less characters such as Rose or Meryl, or if you got that extra point left. I mean, came in a first order pack. Works really well in resistant ships too.
There you go. Try it out. All right. What about the buoys? I feel like a lot of people played them a lot of people tried them at first. And it feels gimmicky now. Will?
Yeah, I was not sold on the 4 points. It only works on yourself. But now that I've actually seen them in play, utilizing the large gas clouds, hiding them amongst, or literally on top of a large gas cloud, so it's protected itself. It recently got ruled they can only do 1 damage to a remote per attack. And these things have 2 hull, so they're a lot harder than Ryan, your question and me.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is that really a new rule? You can only do 1 total damage to a remote on an attack?
I'm either crazy or right. Research will find out what is which, but I believe so, that they're harder than what you would think. Plus the ability to place them onto like I said, this gas cloud gives them a defensive bond.
I think they recently changed that ruling though. I feel like that specifically changed in the latest FAQ.
All right, well, you guys fact check me. Live fact check me.
All right, go get it, guys. Get it.
I'll continue. But basically, the like I said, the 4 points and it only working on yourself really put me off for at first. But then when I started seeing them placed well in squads, and it works well for man, what is the no, that's not what I'm looking for. The buoys. Yes. So here's something interesting. There's actually a little bit of synergies in these sensor buoys. Now I do think that they're just fine. You put it on an Upsilon, that's how you're going to mount some dice. But there's actually some unutilized combination between sensor buoy suite and biohexacrypt codes. Biohexacrypt codes let you spend your lock to coordinate a ship at any range, Sensor buoy does not specify your lock is required to be on an enemy ship. It says before you engage, you may require a lock on a ship at range 0 to 1 of a friendly sensor buoy, ignoring range restrictions. So actually with the Psy Shuttle, it having a red lock, limited actions, and if you are trying to coordinate often, these will actually be a interesting way to long range coordinate. Though, do I think that's good? Probably not. But I will say that believe they are worth 4 points, though.
Yeah, I actually flew that. I was flying Von Reg, Quick Draw, and then the Initiative 4 guy with
Gideon.
Biohex. Yeah, with that whole thing. Terex. I had Terex, that sensor buoy plus the Biohex, and it worked okay. I was basically gave me the liberty to coordinate either Quick Draw or Von Reg whenever that, because I didn't have to worry about staying close to them. I was just, with the red coordinate, constantly stressed and basically just flying around as a support ship, either throwing calculates, jamming things, or coordinating. And it worked out okay. It was fun. Is it going to win anything? No. But it's okay. It's fun.
Because most people only coordinate with biohexacrypt codes. You can jam as well, and this ship does have a white jam. So pick up a free lock, jam that person, make range 3 jam look silly when you're out there range 5, range 6 jamming. So it has potential. It's worth its points. Is it a must-have upgrade? No. So I think we could bump it up. No. I don't know if I could put it in a B tier. It's not in the dumpster.
No, it's like there is potential, but it's so niche that
you got to get your whole list to work around it.
Yeah. Also, I have the damaging remotes ruling.
What's up?
If a remote suffers 1 or more hit or crit damage, deal that many face down damage cards to it. So even if it's a crit, it's face down. If it has a number of damage cards greater than or equal to its hull value, it is destroyed. After a remote is destroyed, remove it from play and shuffle any damage cards assigned to it back into the damage deck.
Oh, shoot. Is that in blue text? Was that the most recent one?
The blue text, they added its deal, quote, that many was the blue text, and damage cards, the S on the end of it was blue as well.
Oh, so they had
recently changed deal face down damage card to it. They didn't, so it's probably just typo.
Yeah, so they fixed it. That it's not unkillable in one attack. So, anyways, I am gonna stand behind that. I think we did get it right. It's still a C upgrade. We just found some uses for it. That's all. We found the niche.
All right, so we're gonna call that a win at the C tier.
Patiently wait for the potential first order TIE bomber, maybe being medium base and having a tech slot.
There you go.
And we'll make use of some buoys.
Absolutely. And yeah, and that's the thing with these rankings, right? As people go back and listen and watch them, is we are talking about them today, right? With our current points. Now, from what our understanding is that we're not anticipating points to change for quite a while. We're thinking, summer of 2021 is probably when the next points change will happen. And we're not even sure when the when the next wave of X-Wings, we know that there's more stuff coming. We don't know when the next stuff is coming. So we'll see what changes over time. Now we have one more crew card to take a look here, and this was Commander Pyre. All right, Commander Pyre was during setup being able to deal a couple of stress to an enemy ship. We had it at the A tier. Lower, higher, did we get it just right? Let us know, chat. What do you guys think? And Marcel, I will pass this one to you.
All right, you knew I wasn't paying attention. Okay, after placing forces, choose an enemy ship. It gains 2 stress tokens. While you defend, the attacker is stressed. You may reroll 1 defense die. I think I've seen it played once. I think it was probably you, William, that played it, maybe. And we had it as an A?
We did.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's a C. That is, especially like, what is it, 5 or 6 points or something like that? It's up there.
It's 5.
Are you factored in the defensive reroll though?
Huh? After you've... The thing is, you stress them out twice, and while you defend, if the attacker is stressed, you may re-roll 1 defense die. I mean, that's
A lot of linked actions out there.
It is. You know what? I'd rather put a hull upgrade for 5 points than that re-roll.
The 5 points is definitely what's holding it down. I didn't I remember when we were probably doing this card, I think we were expecting 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe there was a concern that if you partner Phasma and Pyre together, if one of them's too cheap, then like maybe that combination becomes too good.
Yeah, not really, because I mean, the only ones that can take that is really like the shuttle with 1 agility. Like, okay, you rerolled your 1 die.
Those eyes 2 agility.
Yeah, this would be a lot better if they had like an AP5 or something, like some little cheap support ship.
Yeah, I just don't think
carry a crew.
But I think for me, I'd rather have the guaranteed 1 hull against anything than this. So if I wanted something to stay alive longer, maybe, and I'm just like thinking like another thing is if you're doing the old Dormits and or Lavits, whatever, and throwing everybody, you know, like I forgot what it is, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, like place at range 2 of the ship, and then you throw that on there, so you're basically attacking a stressed ship from turn 1. But again, it's so
It's niche,
like,
yeah.
So that sounds fun though, actually. Go guns blazing on a stress ship from turn 1, but nah.
So we got it. We're saying that it's worse than we put it, right? The question
Yeah, I'm
is,
going C. They seem to think B, like
B minus.
I would rather for 1 point less. I would rather take that sensor buoy than that. 100%, I would rather take the sensor buoy than that crew.
we'll meet it in the middle and call it a B minus. We'll call it a B minus. So, in the end, you know, we did not great. Not great. And that's, you know, but this is, of course, without the information of knowing the points, because our opinions would be completely different about all these depending on the points. Some of them were better than we thought. We did get 2, we got 1, 2, we got 3 out of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 out of 9 right. Not too bad. Not too bad.
The dumpsters we got right. I mean, they were all the way at the bottom. I mean, we dumpstered them, but they were at the bottom already.
Right. But okay, so there is our assessment there in red, white, and blue. Red is anything that was lower or worse than we thought. Blue being better than we thought, and white being we got it right. So Agent Terex.
I would call the Hask Moloris a wash. We had them right next to each other, and one just went a little above, one went a little below.
So I don't feel like putting a gradient on there, so I'll just leave it. But we still got our final assessment, or at least our current assessment as of December 2020, is Terex crew S tier, Captain Moloris pilot, and automated target priority A tier, Gideon Hask B tier. That's a pilot. I'm not sure if in the future there's a crew. I would guess there would be. Commander Pyre, B minus. Automated target priority. Sorry, not. I already did that one. Sensor buoys still at the C tier. Commander Moloris crew still at the C tier, and then, but also in the dumpster because she's way too expensive. So like, do not even look that way. And then Agent Terex and the First Order Courier. Worse than we thought at the C tier. All right. Not too bad. I feel like we didn't get beat up too much on that one. It could have been much worse. It could have been much worse. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the HMPs. All right. So taking a quick look at this one, I think we did pretty well, to be completely. Just like a quick peek at what we did. I don't think we did terrible here. Okay. And we'll jump into it right now. And again, those of you who are watching live with us, go ahead and give us your opinion as we get to each of these, because that's fun. And if you're watching at home on YouTube, do that as well. And if you're listening in the car or listening to audio only, hit us up. Discord, all the places in the Respond to GSP section. I've made our copy of the HMP. Let's jump into it. You guys want to start with a win? Let's start with the win. Concussion missiles. S tier.
Bombs, you mean?
I mean, cut that one. Not the missiles. Bombs. Concussion bombs.
They do look like missiles in the picture.
They do. Concussion bombs. Can we agree that those are S tier?
Yeah.
Are they? All right, so let me ask you this. If they're so S tier, do you always spend the 1 point to go over thermal detonators to get concussion bombs?
This is true. So thermal detonators has colored... Go
that 1
ahead.
point change might have mattered a lot, because bombs are normally an add-on later.
Right.
And I've definitely found in list building, when I have concussion bombs and thermals available, I go back and forth. I don't know which one.
Yeah, but thermal is an S tier. And to me, any bombs that's 3 points is automatically S tier for me. Any bomb. Any 3-point bomb, S tier. Seismics, thermals, and
ion bomb as well. Got added
no,
to that.
yeah, ion, and even the counter net is up there for me now with 3 points. Yeah. So this one, the fact that I see scenarios to take this over those gives me that it's worth the extra point, especially putting damage below the shields and giving the strain on top of that, and S minus, but
So
it's
I,
still-
Do you
good.
feel like you're always spending the 1 point tax to put delayed fuses on them though, as well? So they kind of cost 5, or are you okay not putting delayed fuses on them?
No, I always put delayed fuses on them every time I use them.
So they're kind of a 5-point bomb then.
So, and here's the thing. I would say on release, we were 100% right
Yes.
at the cost. But the problem is that we looked at our rankings a point change after, and that 1 point made a difference. And then also the release of thermal detonators goes ahead and it colors our opinion on what we see there. And a lot of us are very value focused, right? 1 damage equals 1 damage. Yes, concussion missiles under the shields. I would drop this to A or A minus. I would say that we were in the ballpark. We were close. We were close. Marcel, you have a strong head shake.
Yeah, definitely not A minus. And again, when this came out, there was no thermal detonators. And if you think about all the tournaments that happened from when this came out to now, that bomb was in any bomb list. This was the bomb that was there.
You're right. You're right.
Like there was no other
assess
bomb.
it today, though. We got to assess it today.
True, but it was S tier, and it's there's something new that came out now that is costed less by 1. It seems like that's kind of the thing, right? They always cost things a little bit cheaper when they first come out. But like, if you want to pull it down to an A, okay. Like, if you want to say, "Oh, this is A minus," not even
Marcel's
close.
like, I don't want to lose points.
I agree with Marcel. I think it's at least still an A, because beyond the points that I made before that dealt with it's 1 point more, and a lot of people are probably taking thermals right now or seismics or things that are cheaper, and people feel like they got to take delayed fuses with these. There is a lot of value, obviously, that we saw with guaranteed damage, card damage, not shields, straight under shields, card damage, and you either take a strain or it's a crit. That's It obviously did a lot when it was 3 points, and it could still do it 4. A lot of people look at thermals and they look at the threat range, which very true. You got that range, you got that 1 band and 2 band, and potentially with other ships you can mess with that even further.
All right,
So
well,
the threat range is larger with thermals, but it does have the randomness to not do damage at all too, because it's a dice roll.
I'm gonna open it up to the chat to see if they're gonna allow us to keep the S or not. All right. So the poll right now on your screen, what tier that is specifically for the concussion bombs? Let us know. Is it S or is it A? We got quite a few people watching right now, so I think we should be able to get a good number of votes and either grant us the S or have to drop it to A. What were you gonna say, Will?
So I have just one question about it, and it's other effects that apply damage cards. Show you the dark side is the only one I can think of. What else applies damage cards? Seeing Morana?
Sane, yeah. The bullseye Sen.
You're
Oh,
talking
the-
specifically under shields, right?
Yes, applies damage cards under shields.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Sane,
there a
Marana, and Kylo are the first that I can think of. Yeah.
I don't know of another one. So a universal ability that can do that, I think, puts it far beyond any other bomb or even other damage doing. I don't want to say devices because that implies bombs, but things to enhance your damage output outside of attacking. I don't think there's a comparison to it right now.
All right. So right now with 25 votes, it looks like we're going to be able to keep the S unless we have a strong pull to something else. So I'll leave it unchanged right now. Let's jump to the stabilized S foils. Stabilized S foils. Repulsor stabilizers. We talked about the fact that we weren't sure if this was going to be free or not. We were pretty sure that it was going to have a cost, and we really liked the maneuvering on it. I think it's still. I mean, S. Do we still? Is it worth S? I mean, I love the effect. I like what it creates some really interesting issues, especially when you have multiple HMP gunships in a list.
Yeah, it's the difference of flying like an Ozatuk versus flying like a Star Viper, which is unheard of. Like, there's no other ship that gets an upgrade that improves its maneuverability to such an extreme. Maybe grappling struts, maybe, but that's less. It's not really maneuverability when you're just sitting in one place. And I think we've, as a community, decided that it is an auto include. Like, you don't run an HMP without it. You should not, anyways.
All right, so it looks like the audience is going to give us the concussion bombs. They're going to give it to us. We have some mercy there. Yes, that's 2. We're doing it, guys.
We have one lunatic who graded it a C.
I think that's just memeing now. I got to get the poll off before they change their mind and they make us look bad. All right, here we go. So we're going to go ahead and leave those repulsor stabilizers at S. Let's hit one that we don't look so good on. Let's talk about Kalani. All right. So tell me about Kalani, Ryan. Like, what have you seen? What have you not seen? What are some issues that we've run into? Started at A tier, by the way.
Let's get right to the point. It's 5 points, and in the last points update, dark probes did not get increased. So those are also 5 points. So you're immediately competing with, in my opinion, a much better, reliable way to get your entire list target locks and double modded. Kalani seems neat. There are some niche things you can do, like in Nantek's list, because they don't have the lock action. They can acquire it through Kalani. So that's kind of cool. But Dark Probe Droids, same cost. 5 points. I don't know whether like it's kind of sad because the tactical relays as an upgrade type have really fallen far from like playability, and I thought that was one of the coolest things they added to the Separatists, and just don't see a lot of play. I've messed with a couple things that are cool, and Kraken still always has value. TA 1-5 does. Sometimes K2B4 has garnered my attention a little bit, but Kalani, no, not when probe droids are 5 points. I don't even know how much probe droids would have to cost for me to consider Kalani, to be honest. Like I would just I'll start taking tracer missiles. That's another thing. Tracer missiles exist now. Like
I didn't even think about that.
You can take 2 of those for 1 less point than Kalani.
Oof. All right, yeah. So we're looking real bad on that one. So where is Kalani today?
See,
I agree.
I don't think I built a list with them. Like I maybe tried once in the beginning. I was like, but it's 5 points. So just probe droids, and I just like threw it out immediately.
Yeah, the ruling that it's 1 charge per maneuver the enemy executed. So essentially, that something can't move into 3 bullseyes, and you can flip all 3 Kalani charges. I think that was the final nail in the coffin for Kalani, because now it's called focus fire. All right, try to shoot all the same thing.
Is it dumpster material or is it just C?
No. It still provides value, especially to Nantex who can't get the target locks from probe droids.
I think it's hard. Like, for as much as I would like tactical relays to be more prevalent right now, it's hard to dumpster any of them because it's such a widespread effect, no matter how minute or niche it may be.
Cool. All right, so we dropped it there, down from A to C, how the mighty have fallen. Next, we have the... Make sure that I'm reading the right one here. This is the Onderon Oppressor. It's the double pip one that says after you HMP, after you barrel roll or side slip, if you are stressed, gain 1 calculate token. Marcel, thoughts?
Yeah, we had it as an A.
We had it as an A.
Yeah, it's definitely still the best. It's that one and the generic initiative one are the 2 best. I'm tempted to leave it there, maybe go up a little, but I think, I think you leave it there. Even though it's the best and it's a good ship and it can do things on its own. I'm trying to think, like, is it better than some of the other ships that are available in that faction? Maybe. I don't know.
The main issue, at least in my opinion of it, is its cost is a little bit higher than I expected. Because if you put the stabilizers on, so from the generic up to it, it's 6 more points. Granted, you've gained 2 initiative and that ability, which is really good. But it's 43 points once you put on the stabilizer. That's with no other upgrades.
Well, let's ask that question. What about compared to the initiative, the initiative 3 without an ability?
This 4 points more.
This one we didn't rank the initiative 1 and initiative 3 because we talked about it's so dependent on the costs, but that we had no idea where to place it. So this is an opportunity to talk about this and compare the two. So the question is, does the ability provide 4 points worth of value?
I believe so.
Okay. And then if this initiative 3 is tier A, is the 4 points cheaper initiative 3 generic also tier A, or is it because it doesn't have because it's not the initiative 1, is it dropping down to B or C? Because I would say that the initiative 1 is likely better because of the maneuvering options at initiative 1. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the initiative 3 is not as great. I've never seen the Separatist Predator used. You either take the Factoid and guarantee your maneuver at I1, so you get bumped because you're doing such weird maneuvers, it's not even going to matter what initiative you're at anyway. So I don't know. Have you guys ever seen the Separatist Predator ever used?
No, I've not.
No, you go for efficiency or you go for a specific build on them.
All right, we'll just place that one in the C tier. Are we leaving the Geonosian at A?
You mean the Onderon today?
On the right, excuse me. Good, approved. Chat, any arguments? By the way, if you're listening or watching the podcast, you're asking, wait, I thought you guys were going to talk about Imperials. We're getting that. We're getting to that. We're checking ourselves first. We'll probably hit that at 10 our time and have about a half an hour to spend with our Imperials, maybe even more. All right. You know, since we talked about the Initiative 1, let's go ahead and bring that Initiative 1 in. Is the Initiative 1 HMP the best HMP?
047 probably is. He's the named I1.
Yeah, he's the one that gives target. Oh, well, it takes the target lock, gives everyone else rerolls.
Yeah, he's probably the best one by far.
Yeah, only 1 point more. Definitely worth it.
All right, so where are we putting our Initiative 1 Bactoid drone?
I think an A as well.
I mean, it's still an A. Like, still
I would
good.
agree. I would agree. Then let's keep looking here. This is one that we just placed. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna put these sideways because these were just placed today, so we're not confused. Tapped. All right. Well, let's talk about this other Initiative 1, the one you guys were alluding to here. So DGS 047. After you perform an attack, if the defender is in your front arc, you may acquire a lock on it. Then, if the defender is in your bullseye, it gains 1 strain token. So we're saying that the ability is better than the generic, and does that bump it up to S tier? Is it the S tier HMP?
I don't know if it's the S tier, because S tier implies that it's good beyond normal list parameters, if that makes sense. Like S tier, you got to find a way to put it into your list, and I just don't think that 47 is that good.
Yeah, it's good in a list with other Initiative 1 HMPs because it'll shoot, get the target lock, and then it'll give rerolls to the rest of the list. But if it's flying without other HMPs, then you're getting a target lock. It's like the old fire control system. You're getting a target lock when you don't necessarily get to take advantage of it.
Right, and by itself, that lock isn't amazing because it can only use it next round for a single reroll. So it by itself doesn't provide a lot of utility.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and place it at the A tier as well. Still better than what we thought. Above B, at A, because it needs its other brothers at A. It needs them. All right, synced laser cannons. I have mixed feelings about this one. I have mixed feelings about it. We see it. I've seen it sometimes on things like B-Wings. I've seen them on aggressors, but I have yet to see it in a spot that makes me go, wow, that is an amazing use of this gun. I just feel like it's a bonus 3-die gun for someone who has a cannon slot that normally has 2. And the cost is strange too. Let me go look up. Do you guys? When
6
you guys
points
off the top of your head?
The same as ion cannon.
Yeah.
I think that what really gets me is that it can't shoot range 1. Which really affects like both IG-88B and the B-Wing's double tap abilities. Where you'd want to, if you're spending points for a cannon, you really want to be able to shoot it twice. So it really has fallen out of favor. Ryan, I know you rocking the Geonosian prototypes with it. It's the
Not
reason.
with sync laser cannon, though. Funny enough.
Really?
Yep. We'll get into that later. But I think the sync laser cannon. Would you agree? It's definitely the cannon of choice for the TIE Brute.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, with the pre-calculate, yeah.
Yeah. So clearly we saw it come in this pack, but later when it came in the TIE Brute, it's really good, more featured, Is it shining? Spotty at best.
So here, if I defined A tier as competitively playable, is it that?
In small percentages, yes, which is why I would
Even
lean
if it's
closer
situational, yeah, be A.
that's why I say B tier.
You
Yeah,
think
I'd say B.
Defensively. Yeah, because B tier can still be competitive if put in the right situation and played well.
Well, just look at it this way. We were debating whether concussion bombs were possibly A. Sync laser cannons are not remotely close to concussion bombs.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree. All right, and let's head to our next pilot here. The 2-pip Geonosian prototype. While you perform a missile or cannon attack, you may remove 1 tractor token from the defender to reroll up to 2 attack dice. We were talking about the fact that we just thought this was too situational and slapped it down in C. Has anything changed?
Yes.
Garbage can.
Well, no. Wait, whoa. What are you talking about? You know what changed was the fact that this ended up being the only HMP that can take cannons.
Yeah.
All the others can't do that. They have let's see, every other HMP can load out missile, tac relay, crew, by the way, which none of us I assume expected. Like I definitely didn't. Payload, mod, config, right? That's the standard. Because this Geonosian ended up being the only one that could take cannon slot, being double cannon instead of the tac relay, or sorry, not instead of tac relay, instead of payload and crew, that gave this ship value that they can take sync laser cannon, or what I have done in the past is tractor beam. Not even for the effect, just to be able to take tractor beam on a cheaper platform, because the only other platform that can take tractor beam in CIS is the Sith Infiltrator, which is currently garbage.
It is. Correct. All right, so we're making it better. We're making it better, and that is, it literally pulled itself up from its bootstraps because of the cannon. That is
ability's still terrible.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Exactly. The ability, and I just want to stress that this has nothing to do with its special skills. Just the fact that it can slap some cannons on there. So where are we going to place it, Ryan? B, A?
Oh man, it's like between A and B. Marcel, what do you think? It depends on how much you value the cannons. And
It's B tier. From what you just described, B tier is that competitive in the right situation. I think that's where it applies.
I never flew it, and so I think, yeah, I would drag it down even more, but.
All right, we're going to go ahead and leave it at the B tier. And the last, can't forget about this pilot. Here we go. Our Initiative 3 named DGS 286. Before you engage, you may choose another friendly ship at range 0 to 1. That ship transfers 1 calculate to you. We currently had it at the B tier. So from my understanding, I haven't seen a lot of the HMP played at Initiative 3. There's a lot of people playing Initiative 1 because you're playing in the Swarm. We've seen the Geonosian prototype used with the cannons. This one, I look at it and say, if you're putting this in your list, why aren't you going with the other ones for better value? So for that reason, I personally think this one gets dropped down to the C tier. I think the ability is good. Like, it has some value there, but I don't... especially because its abilities taking calculates from somebody, you could also look at it as detrimental or not usable in a list situationally. So for that reason, I'm dropping it down to C personally. Do I have any arguments there?
Nope, it's just too expensive currently. 45 points once you put the stabilizers on. 42 base.
Alrighty. So we weren't completely off base with that one. You know, we did think that the ability was a little bit strange and dropped it down here. Let's talk about multi-missile pods. Multi-missile pods. I remember the day that we got the points for them, and I believe Ryan in our chat went, "What?"
I wasn't sure which was more egregious, Terex being so cheap or this being so stupidly expensive, and I think it's the latter, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, so multi-missile pods, if you're not familiar, we'll go ahead and we started them at the B tier, by the way. It says attack, calculate, or target lock. It is a 2-dice front full arc attack at range 1 to 2. And it says spend a charge. If the defender is in your front arc, your normal front arc, you may spend the charge to roll 1 additional die, so going up to 3 there. And if the defender's in your bullseye, you may spend up to 2 charges to roll that many additional attack dice instead. So getting up to possibly 4 dice with these with these missiles. And I think you identified it right there. Is while the range 1 to 2 is pretty crap. All right, that's a problem because if you're in range 1 with an HMP gunship, you're gonna have 3 dice anyway, right? Like it could have value if it was cheaper for the range 2 stuff. But you could see right there, we're like maybe I believe if I remember our conversation when we were ranking this was if it's cheap, it's gonna be B tier. But like most likely, we thought that they were gonna cost it too much, so we're thinking it's falling down to C.
I mean,
Yeah, I've tried a lot of
literal dumpster until it's at least 4 points, and then I start thinking.
There you go. So the Scarlet Fire for the multi-missile pods.
And so, Will, what have you tried? Because I haven't even tried. I'm like, this is way too expensive.
I really Major Rhymer can extend his missiles and torpedoes out to range 3 or to range 0. And I think that's the best value you can get out of multi-missile pods because it does give him that range 0 to 3 180 arc, which is pretty intense. But he's just a bomber, probably needs a support shuttle like Jendon. I think the biggest problem with it is like once you start getting those good attacks in, you just burn through charges. Like 2 charges in arc, and then 3 charges in bullseye, and it's done. Like it's a 2-shot weapon. So I just don't.
So let me ask you from your perspective, because when I think about this, I see probably the most value is when you get that bullseye. Now,
yeah, of course.
The ship that they're marketing theoretically to carry, this being the HMP, doesn't have boost, which Prockets lines up bullseye range 1 to 2 for this large shot effect, has been mostly used on A-wings that have focus link boost. Now, these side slips can do some weird things. They could accomplish something similar, but do you think the designers looked at this and saw this is kind of like a Procket with 1 less dice, but it has an extra effect for that 180, or, it could shoot more often, theoretically?
I think it was a way to what they would have considered bad double missile ships. We're talking aggressors, bombers, Punishers, things like that. I think that their thought process was that this would help out some of those like generic Punishers, some like generic TIE aggressors and things like that, right? And we've just dealt with them being so bad for so long that unless this is cheaper, there's really no incentive to take those options. So it's not a bad weapon. It's just costed too much.
There you go.
Yeah, I actually think it's one of the more well-designed weapons. I think it's really cool. You have you're literally telling people you can shoot really wide, but as you get better and get your shots right, there's a design aspect to it. But costs terribly.
It's too expensive, and for that reason, it will live in the dumpster. Well, due to time, we spent a lot of time doing the rankings for reviewing what we did in the past. We're gonna go ahead and put a hold on our lists of the week, but we have 3 really good ones. We'll take care of them next week. A couple of things. I will tell you that this week I have been working like a madman, reworking and redoing my vision for the Flight Club Championships. I know I've been talking about it a lot, but I thought I had it, and then there was one idea that I had that completely derailed what I was going to do, and I'm basically having to redo a bunch of work. Like right now, if you went to a Gold Squadron podcast website, like as of right now, as of 10:50 p.m. On the 21st, the site isn't even like goldsquadronpodcast.com is up, but the Flight Club Championship pages, they're off because I'm redoing everything. My hope is that before you listen to the next podcast, it'll be live, okay? And my goal, to be completely honest, is to try to finish it in the next 48 hours and have it out there ready for you guys to sign up, because I keep seeing people ping me, Dion, is it open yet? Is it open yet? It is coming. Some of the dates got shifted around. Some of the formats got shifted around. The prize, they got additional prizes that got added. There's a bunch of back-end things that is going to make my life easier, aka get things shipped out even faster. I would say our record for Galaxies was pretty awesome. We got everything out in 4 weeks. It was all gone. But my goal for the Flight Club Championships, we're still going to ship after we're done with all the championship events, but my goal is to be done in 2 weeks after the end, have everything out the door. And I think with everything that we're setting up right now, that is going to be possible. So I'm super excited about that. Thank you for listening. Today was awesome. I had a great night, and hopefully you guys have a very merry holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. I think we're in the middle of Hanukkah, but I'm not entirely sure because I don't celebrate Hanukkah. But if that's you, Happy Hanukkah, and any other holiday times you're doing, it's awesome. We will be live on Wednesday, the 23rd, for our holiday edition of Flight Club, and I got some fun little things that I have planned in the background. We're gonna do some extra giveaways because holiday, Christmassy stuff, and I have some surprises, some gifts that I'm going to be giving Will, Ryan, and Marcel for all their love, work, and the time they spend with me and dealing with me. So I appreciate them, and I want that. It's my time to let them know that. And that is all. And I'll leave them on that cliffhanger. And they're going to ask me questions after we sign off, but I'm not going to tell them anything. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be smart. Be safe. Gold Squadron. Oh, wait a second. One thing. Shout out to Isophane. So Isophane, I got to ask you a quick question. You sent me a link. Is that the thing you're sending me? I need to know really quickly. Because he sent me he said, "Is this your address?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I'm sending you a thing. Is that the thing?" "Yes." "Oh, cool. All right." So shout out to Isophane. Thank you so much. He's sending as a Christmas gift the Force Effects Darksaber. Oh, it's so pretty, and I'm super excited. Thank you, Iso. I love you, man. Merry Christmas.
Dion, you're already challenged to Mortal Kombat for ownership of the Darksaber.
Come at me. You got to find me first. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll talk to you later, guys. Gold Squadron out. For real this time. Let's go get some hot cocoa.